Epic Kids. So I am I'm one of Ms Christel's friends, and she asked if I would share one of my favorite books, and it is called Up in the Leaves. It's the true story of the Central Park Treehouses. Bob lived in the big city. The city was very crowded. It was crowded with buildings stacked side by side. It was crowded with strangers packed into cars. It was crowded with trucks honking their horns. Bob didn't like all that rushing around, the eyes of so many people, all those feet on the ground. He climbed up lampposts, he snuck onto his building's roof, he scaled the walls of the castle in the park. At school, the hallways were narrow, the ceilings were low, the desks were cramped. The bell rang and Bob dashed to Central Park. The park was cool, green, calm. People walked slowly or sat on the ground. Trees waved their branches in the air, inviting him to come up. He lifted himself onto a tree limb. He pulled up to another and then to the next. The bark made a path, the leaves made a hideaway. Up and down and up, he explored the trees, the fluffy pink cherry tree, the sticky pokey pine. He slipped through the door of a wide beech. He stepped up the staircase of a tall oak. Each tree was its own world, every limb an adventure. He could see buildings and the people down below so small, but nobody could see him. This was his own secret spot. He decided to stay. Bob scavenged wood and rope from dumpsters. Tap, 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 he hammered. Whoosh, 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 he sobbed. Loop, 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 he nodded. Every day after school, Bob's treehouse was waiting. He hugged the tree's trunk and scampered straight up. The city, roar, clang, bang, fell away. He read books in the hush and shared peanuts with the squirrels. He listened to the whir of a dragonfly, the creaking of wood, the flapping of birds. One day, his treehouse was gone. The squirrels had their nests, the birds had their roosts, but the little boy no longer had a place of his own. Bob started all over. Tap, tap, whoosh, whoosh, loop, loop. His new treehouse was even bigger and better hidden. When rain pelted down and wind bent the branches, Bob's treehouse rocked and swayed. He was a sailor on a ship at sea. But fall came. The leaves fell. The treehouse was no longer a secret. Again, it was taken away. He no longer had a ship in the sky. There was nothing to do except try again. Up went a platform, up went the walls, up went the milk crates for tables and chairs. He let down a rope, and up went some friends. Bob stayed after sunset and mapped twinkling stars. He even spotted planets. He became an astronaut, navigating the cosmos. The seasons went on, and so did the tree houses. Each one was taken down, but Bob kept building. Bob's mother worried. You'll be grown up soon. You can't stay up in trees. She wanted him to go to work like everyone else, but that wasn't for him. Shoulder to shoulder downtown, the traffic, the concrete, the air thick with smog. Instead, he built the biggest treehouse of all. 5 levels and a bridge. Bob was very proud. He loved drifting to sleep, snuggled under the canopy of leaves. One morning, Bob woke up and heard voices far below. "We know you're up there," they yelled. "Come down." He sadly descended like a fluttering leaf. His adventure was over. He was stuck on the ground. But then something lucky. The man in charge of the park watched Bob come down. He climbed like a squirrel, sure-footed and at ease. "Come work in the park," the man said to Bob, "and take care of the trees." "A job in the trees? I would love to work here," Bob said. Every day, Bob walked to work in the park. With his new ropes and saddle, he could climb any tree, even the biggest. He swung all over the branches, up and across, from limb to limb. He snipped and he sawed, and he kept the trees healthy. He stuck to his promise not to build any more tree houses in the park. But sometimes at night, he slipped out of bed and walked softly through the city back to his trees. Bob Redmond built 12 tree houses in New York City's Central Park from the time he was 13 until he was 21. His friends helped him salvage building materials and construct the hideaways. He crafted each tree house to have a special view, a balcony overlooking the tree canopy, or a leafy window framing the city skyline. He named them after stars. Studying the night sky was one of his favorite things to do in the magical tree houses. Now Bob lives in an apartment near the park. Trees cover the roof, and it has skylights so he can gaze at the moon and stars. Still an arborist, Bob takes care of trees all over the city. He escapes high into the branches just like when he built his tree houses. "I went straight up," he says, "the higher the better, so only squirrels and birds could go higher." The end. All right, have a good night.